learn to speak English like a native. Join my VIP program at effortlessenglishclub.com. That is effortlessenglishclub.com. effortlessenglishclub.com. Join my VIP program and get a discount on my pronunciation course. So, our book club continues with Animal Farm Chapter 9. In this Effortless English show, we are learning about Chapter 9 of Animal Farm. We are almost finished. Just 2 more chapters, Chapter 9 and Chapter 10. Chapter 9 is a sad chapter, unfortunately. You will see one of our heroes has a bad ending. Maybe our best hero. Let's go ahead and start. As usual, I will go through the chapter. I will tell you the story, what happens in the chapter, the main points of the chapter, and then I will talk about some of the deeper meanings of the events of what happens in the chapter. Chapter 9 is really about Boxer, our great hero, Boxer, the horse. So you remember in Chapter 8, Boxer had a split hoof. It means his foot was hurt. He had an injury on his foot because of the battle, the second battle, the windmill battle. But they started to rebuild the windmill immediately, and Boxer refused to take a day off. He would not rest. Because remember, Boxer, he just wanted to work and work and work. Boxer wanted to work again, to rebuild the windmill again. And he also tried very hard to hide his pain, right? He did not want the other animals to see his pain from his foot injury. So he pretended that he was okay. And he kept working hard, working hard, working hard. And really, he was the most motivated one. All the other animals were very tired of the windmill. They'd already built it 2 times, and now their motivation kind of gone. But Boxer, still determined to keep going. Now, Boxer was looking forward to retirement. He was almost at his retirement age, finally. So, in the chapter, we learned that the laws of Animal Farm were that horses and pigs could retire at age 12. And then other animals had different ages, which not so important. And they agreed that when they retired, when an animal retired, got old enough to retire, that they would get a pension. So they would get some kind of payment. So of course on Animal Farm that would mean food. They would get, their food, they could retire, could stop working, and enjoy their old age. So this was the law that they made, the rules they made in the beginning of Animal Farm. And Boxer was only, less than a year away from retirement. He was getting quite close to being retired. However, unfortunately, life got even more difficult. Life becomes, in this chapter, even more difficult for the animals. So Orwell says, life was hard. Food was even shorter. Shorter here means less. So food was even less. Even less food than before. Already they were hungry. Now even less food than before. All their rations, meaning the amount of food they got, were reduced again. So the amount of food each animal could get each day, again reduced, again goes down, except for the pigs and the dogs, of course. Except for the pigs and the dogs. The pigs and the dogs continued to eat the same amount as always. Actually, even more, as we'll see. Now, another thing is, when they talked about reducing means to go down, right, to decrease. When they talked about decreasing or reducing the food, they never used that word. It says Squealer, right, the propaganda pig, Squealer always spoke of it as readjustment, never as reduction. So Squealer would never use the word reduction. He would never use the word decrease, right? The accurate true words. He would always use some other word that really didn't mean the same thing. So readjustment just means a change. It does not mean go down. So it's really the wrong word. So they would they started to use language in a way that really is not honest. And we'll talk more about this when we come back, because this is another common technique. This is right now, this is a super, super, super common technique. It's called political correctness. And this is also a technique that is probably Orwell's most famous technique that he described. This use of language, changing the meaning of the language in order to brainwash people, to change their minds, to control them. Using language to control people. Orwell is so famous for this that there's actually a phrase, an idiom, that uses his name to describe this. But I'll talk about that when we come back, after we talk about what happens. All right, so as usual, the animals, let's face it, the animals are kind of stupid, or at least naive, right? They just believe everything that the pigs tell them. So even though, the pigs tell them that, hey, even though their life is actually much worse than before, even though now their life is worse than with Mr. Jones, but the pigs are always telling them, oh, your life is better than before. Oh, Mr. Jones, it was so horrible, but now it's better. So even though now life is tough, it's still better than before. And the animals just believe it, like they don't even remember. In fact, in chapter 9 it says, the animals believed every word. So the animals believe every word from the pigs. And the truth is, they had almost forgotten Mr. Jones and life with Mr. Jones. So it's been so long now that really most of the animals don't even remember. They don't remember clearly life with Mr. Jones. They don't clearly remember life before the revolution, before Animal Farm. And so it's easy for them to believe all these lies from the pigs because their memory's fading. They don't trust their own memories. They trust whatever the pigs say instead. And in fact, they were happy. Orwell says they were happy. They were glad to believe the pigs' lies. They were happy to believe that with Mr. Jones they were slaves, but now they were free. Right? So again, another propaganda technique. They believe that now they're free because of the propaganda, and before they were slaves. But of course, they're really not free at all now. Next thing that happens is that 31 young pigs are born. So 31 new baby pigs are born. And Napoleon is the father for all of them. And Napoleon decides they will build a school for the pigs. But since the school's not ready, of course, he alone teaches all of them. So again, just like with the young dogs before, Napoleon takes control of the baby pigs' education. And he keeps the baby pigs away from all other animals. So they don't let the baby pigs, the piglets they're called, they don't let the piglets play with any other animals. They're only with Napoleon and with each other. So again, Napoleon can totally control their life and what they learn and what they believe. So again, it's just a repeat of the technique he used with the dogs. Next, the pigs get even more above the rest of the animals. They make a new law that if two animals are walking towards each other, all the animals must move to the side and let the pigs go first, must let the pigs go by. So the pigs, they must stand aside for the pigs. The pigs can always go first. The pigs can always go first anytime they're going anywhere. And also, all pigs are allowed to wear a green ribbon A ribbon is like, decoration. A green ribbon on their tails on Sundays. So remember, one of their rules was no decorations, no clothes. But now, again, they're changing the rule. Again, the pigs get us, especially for the pigs. The pigs can do something that the others can't do. Next, once again, the farm needs money as usual. They need money to buy equipment. They need money for supplies, to help rebuild the windmill again, to help build their new schoolhouse. So once again, they sell the eggs from the chickens, but they sell even more eggs. So now the chickens, basically all of the eggs, every single egg the chickens make, they sell. So now the chickens are really not even hardly keeping any of their babies, any of their own eggs. Just enough to keep the chicken numbers even, level, at the same. Then in December, in the winter, and again in February, they again reduce the amount of food. But, a little dark humor here, the pigs seem comfortable enough, and in fact, they were putting on weight, if anything. So while all the other animals are almost starving, the pigs are gaining weight. The pigs are getting fatter. So we can see, of course, the pigs now, they're getting plenty of food. They're actually getting more food than they did before with Mr. Jones. They're doing very well. They're getting fatter and fatter, but all the other animals are super thin and hungry all the time. Okay. Next, again, another rule that was broken. They planted barley, which is a plant that's used to make beer. And now they decide that every pig will receive a pint of beer every day. A pint is a little more than a liter, I believe. Around a liter. Maybe 1.5 liters. Something like that. So every pig gets a pint of beer every day. And Napoleon gets half a gallon of beer every day. Half a gallon is like, 2.5 liters. Now, more propaganda techniques, because life is really, really hard for the animals now. So they increase, they have more songs, more speeches, and they decide on a special day. It's called the spontaneous demonstration, which is again another kind of lie, another way that they're using language in a way that's not honest. Because spontaneous means it happens without a plan, but this is actually a planned parade, a planned celebration that they do every week. But they call it spontaneous, like just everyone's so happy they just start to celebrate for no reason. That's the word spontaneous, means not planned, it just suddenly happens. But of course, it's the opposite. They're using the opposite, the word that means the opposite of the truth. The truth is it's not spontaneous at all, it's completely planned, it's required from Napoleon. And on this day, every week, they have a big parade. They all walk together and they sing songs. Napoleon's at the front and they carry a banner and signs. And it's all to distract the animals from the hardship, right? It's all to make them feel good. And so they don't think about how hungry they are. They don't think about the problems. They don't notice the lies. And during the parade, they all shout, "Long live Comrade Napoleon! Long live Napoleon!" And they tell poems and stories about Napoleon and how great he is. So they do this every week. And it says, and it actually works. This propaganda works. This technique works. So Orwell says, they, the animals, found it comforting to be reminded that they were truly free. They were truly their own masters. So again, a little dark humor. The animals believe all this propaganda, and the animals really believe they are the masters, even though the pigs are clearly totally in control. And clearly the animals have no freedom now. And clearly their life is much worse than before, and yet they still believe they are free. They still don't notice all of the lies and techniques the pigs are using. They don't notice. They don't believe them. They just feel good about, oh yes, we're free. The propaganda, the lies make them feel good, so they like to believe them. In April, in the spring, Animal Farm is proclaimed, means they say publicly, that Animal Farm is a republic, like a democracy kind of, a republic. And they have to vote for a president. But again, of course, there's only one person they can vote for, Napoleon. So there's only one choice. And of course, Napoleon wins! Yay! Because no one else can go against him. So, of course, again, another lying use of language where they describe Animal Farm as a republic with voting, but there's only one choice. So again, it's the opposite of its true meaning. Next, so a lot of this is continuing the same techniques and just doing them more. That's basically what happens in the middle of chapter 9. More about Snowball. They just keep. Remember last week we learned about boiling a frog, and how it's this little tiny changes until you make one huge change. And this is used negatively. Well, they continue to do this with the whole story about Snowball. Remember, the truth was Snowball was a huge hero fighting against the humans. Then they say, he didn't do very much. And then they say, actually, he did nothing at the battle. And then next they say, actually, secretly, he was a spy for the humans and an enemy, right? And it keeps getting worse. Well, now, finally, they say Snowball actually fought with the humans. He was fighting against the animals. He was actually attacking the animals. And when he was fighting, he said, "Long live humanity! Long live humans!" And that actually he got hurt, because in the true story, in the true battle, Snowball got hurt from a gun. But they lie and they say, oh no, actually he got hurt. Napoleon attacked Snowball and Napoleon hurt Snowball. So now we've gone through little small steps. They've gone from the truth, Snowball was a big hero, now to the complete opposite lie, Snowball was a big enemy who fought against the animals in the battle. A total, complete, 100% lie. And they did it step by step, little by little, and the animals just keep believing each little step and forgetting the truth, and now everybody believes this complete lie that is the complete opposite of the truth. Next, Moses the raven comes back. Remember, he's like kind of the religious guy. He's like the preacher. Remember, he talked about this place called Sugar Candy Mountain, which is like the magic mountain, kind of like heaven, where animals go after they die, and everything's perfect up there. And again, a little dark humor. They say it was hard to decide the attitude of the pigs about Moses, the raven. So, on one hand, they said all his stories were stupid. They were lies. So the pigs didn't believe any of his stories. And this whole Sugar Candy Mountain, this magical heaven after you die, is just a lie. So we don't believe him. It's foolish. The pigs think that. On the other hand, the pigs let him stay on the farm. They let him tell the stories. And it says they don't make him work. He doesn't have to work. They do not make Moses the raven. This raven's a blackbird. They don't make him work. They let him tell all his stories about the magical mountain. And they even give him beer every day. They give him some beer every day. So they say he's lying, but yet they let him continue to lie to all the animals. And indeed, most of the animals believe his stories. They want to believe his stories. Finally, we come to the big event of chapter 9, and it's back to Boxer again. So, we learn again, all the animals worked like slaves that year. So again, they're working like slaves. They're like slaves, but they all think they're free. There's an important lesson. Boxer never faltered means he never got weaker. He never stopped trying hard. But however, he's starting to have problems, health problems. So it says his hide, his skin was less shiny than in the past. So he's less healthy now, getting older. His giant haunches, it means like his back legs, seem to have shrunken. It means they got smaller. So his muscles have gotten smaller, right? He's not as powerful anymore. But Boxer doesn't care. His 12th birthday number 12, is getting close. He doesn't care. He decides he's going to work and work until his birthday, and then he can finally retire. And he doesn't care. He's like, I'm just going to do my best so I can help you all as much as I can, and then I'll finally retire. But then a tragedy, then something terrible happens. One of the pigeons one day comes screaming and yelling, Boxer has fallen! Boxer has fallen down! He's lying on his side. He can't get up. So there's some kind of accident. Something's wrong with Boxer. So of course, all the animals go running because they all love him so much. And they find him. He's laying on his side, and there's blood coming out of his mouth. And he says it's his lung. The lungs, we have two lungs, right? It's what we use for breathing. Our air goes in and out of our lungs. So he has a lung problem, a lung disease or injury. And there's blood coming out of his mouth. So all the animals are panicking. Oh my God. They're all very upset. So they all run back to get the pigs, especially Squealer, and tell him something's wrong with Boxer, help. And two animals stay with Boxer. Clover, right, one of the horses, and Benjamin the donkey, right, one of our other heroes, Benjamin the donkey. And they lay down next to him till he feels better. And Benjamin uses his tail to keep the flies off of him. So Benjamin really likes Boxer. So he uses his tail so there's no flies on Boxer and to kind of protect Boxer. So Clover and Benjamin take care of him. And then the pigs come back and they say, don't worry, Napoleon already, he has a plan. He's going to send Boxer to a hospital. He's going to send him to an animal hospital, a veterinarian, in a town called Willingdon. Now, at first, the animals don't like this idea. We don't want to send him to humans, right? They don't trust it, but Squealer says, don't worry, there's a good veterinary doctor. A veterinarian is an animal doctor. And this veterinarian will take care of Boxer. Boxer will be okay. Don't worry. So they bring Boxer back to the farm, the main part of the farm. And they give him some medicine from the farmhouse that they found. And once again, Clover, for the next couple days, Clover and Benjamin take care of Boxer. So Benjamin stays next to him and keeps the flies away from him, and Boxer tries to take care of him too. But the problem is, Benjamin and Clover, they can only take care of Boxer after work. So during the work hours, Benjamin and Clover have to leave Boxer behind. They have to leave him alone and go out to work. Well, one day, a van, like a van's like a kind of like a truck, right? Like a small truck. A van comes to the farm, and suddenly Benjamin's out working, right? So they left Boxer alone, and a van comes up, and then Benjamin comes galloping, running back to the farm, and he's yelling as loud as he can, quick, come, they're taking Boxer. He's really upset. And Boxer is inside the van. Like it's like a kind of a big truck for the horse. And the animals come around the van and they all say, Goodbye, Boxer. Goodbye. Good luck. They think he's going to the animal doctor. But then Benjamin yells again, you fools! You fools! Don't you see the writing on the van? Look at the writing on the truck. And of course, the animals can't read it, but Benjamin reads it. And on the side, it has a name of a man, Alfred Simmons. But then it says, horse slaughterer and glue boiler. And then it gives the town, Willington, the same town. Dealer in hides and bone meal. Oh. So, horse slaughterer. To slaughter is to kill. And we usually use this word, often we use this word for animals. So, for example, when an animal is killed for food, we call that slaughtering the animal. Right? So you slaughter a pig, you kill the pig, and then later eat it. But it's not only for eating. It just has this idea of killing, and it's closely connected to the idea of killing animals. But we will use it sometimes, like if someone kills a lot of people. Let's say kills a lot of people, and in a war, in a battle, we might say he slaughtered the enemy, right? He killed them like animals. So this truck is not a veterinarian, not an animal doctor. This is someone who kills horses. That's his job. He kills horses. And glue boiler. To boil is like water, to make water that's hot. So what does this mean? Well, this is maybe confusing, but in the past, in the old days, they used horses. I think they used their feet and their bones and some things. They used parts of horses to make glue. Right? Glue is something we use to stick together, right? Keep things together, stuck together. Well, now they use chemicals. But in the past, a while ago, before my time, before your time, they used parts of animals to make glue, especially horses. So, in other words, this van, this truck, is a company, a man, who kills horses and uses them to make glue. The pigs are sending Boxer to be killed. A cry of horror. Horror means like terror, super fear and anger. Ah! But especially fear. Bursts from the animals. So all the animals start screaming, ah, no! Right? They love Boxer. Boxer's their great hero. Clover, one of the horses, tries to chase the van to stop it, and she's yelling, Boxer, Boxer, Boxer! And then she yells to Boxer inside, Boxer, get out! Get out! Get out quickly! They're taking you to your death. They're taking you to kill you. They're taking you to your death. Clover screaming at Boxer inside the van, running beside it. And all the other animals start screaming at the same time. Get out, Boxer! Get out! Get out! And from inside the van, they hear kicking. And Boxer's trying to kick the door open. He's trying to kick out and to escape. But, sadly, it says, but alas, means, oh no. His strength had left him. He was not strong enough anymore, right? His lung had become injured. He was too older and weak now. And his hoofs, his feet, his legs were not strong enough anymore. Maybe when he was young, he could have kicked the door open. He was so powerful. But now he can't do it. And the van just drives away slowly, and they hear, boom, they hear him the whole time trying to kick his way out, but he can't do it, and it gets quieter and quieter, and the van disappears. One of the animals tries to run to shut the gate to stop the van, but can't do it. Not fast enough. And Boxer was never seen again. Next, 3 days later, Napoleon and the squealer, of course, his propaganda minister, announced that Boxer died in the hospital in Wellington. Hospital. He was not killed. He was not murdered. He died in the hospital. And he pretends to cry a little bit. Squealer. And Squealer says, I was at his bed when he died. He was so weak. But he said, forward, comrades, just before Boxer died. He said, forward, comrades, forward, friends. Long live Animal Farm. Long live Napoleon. Napoleon is always right. Then Squealer says, looks around, he says, now, I've heard there's a rumor, a lie, a bad rumor, gossip, that Boxer was sent to a horse slaughterer. This is just a rumor, it's not true. And he says, it's very easy, the reason why you are confused about this. Actually, the animal doctor, the veterinarian, he bought that van from a horse slaughterer, a horse killer, and he forgot, he didn't have time to change the sign. So it's just the van sign was wrong. Actually, that van was from the veterinarian, the vet. Veterinarian's a little hard word to say, veterinarian, or veterinarian as we say in America. You can just say vet, it's easier, vet, a vet. A vet is an animal doctor. So I'll use the short form, vet. So the van was actually owned by a vet. It's just the sign was from another company. He bought the truck from another company. So again, this obvious lie. But of course, as usual, the animals, they're happy to hear this, right? It's another happy lie, right? You'll notice this is a pattern now with the animals. Why do they believe the lies? What Orwell's telling us is they believe the lies because they want to, because the lies sound good, because the lies sound better than the truth. The truth is horrible. They murdered, they killed their great hero. That's the truth. That's horrible. The lie sounds so much nicer. Oh, he went to an animal doctor and he died peacefully. So that's why the animals believe all these lies, because they're lies that make them feel good. And people want to feel good. People will choose to feel good even if it's based on a lie. That's what Orwell's saying. Their doubts disappear. And then Napoleon gives a speech to honor Boxer. And he says, remember what Boxer always said. I will work harder. And, of course, Comrade Napoleon is always right. So they use Boxer's death to celebrate Napoleon even more and make him even more powerful. And then finally, a little black humor to end the chapter. That evening, a van comes back from Wellington. It's that same town where the horse killer, the horse slaughterer, was. And they deliver a big wooden box, a crate, it's called, a big wooden box, to the pigs. And then that night, all the animals can hear there's lots of loud singing and voices from the pig's house. And then they hear a little bit of they're arguing and a big kind of glasses crashing and breaking. And then the next day they find out that the pigs somehow got enough money to buy whiskey. And of course, whiskey is like hard liquor, hard alcohol. Much stronger than just beer. So somehow they got the money. And of course, they got the money by selling Boxer. They sold Boxer to this horse killer, horse slaughterer, to make glue. And then the horse slaughterer, the glue maker, paid the pigs money And the pigs used the money to buy whiskey and have a big party. That's the true story of what happened to Boxer the horse. And that is the end of chapter 9. Let's go back. All right. I'm going to switch microphones here. All right then. So, here we go. Chapter 9. The meaning. Let's talk about some of the meaning. What happened? What is the meaning of this? What is Orwell trying to tell us, possibly? So back to the beginning. So Boxer's injured. He keeps, the beginning of chapter 9 is basically a repeat of what we already know about Boxer. Boxer's a hero. Boxer works for everyone. Boxer cares about everyone. Even when he's injured, he continues to work hard. So, we also learned that there's a retirement policy. Now this is something that we see, again, this is something I say almost every country in the world. This whole idea of retirement and pensions. Where the government promises all these great things to people, right? Especially to older people. Oh, if you work hard, if you pay these taxes, then when you get old, you get this great pension. Companies do this too. And guess what? Many times it's a lie. Many times it doesn't happen. These people get to their retirement and there's no money left because the politicians stole it all and used it for other things. Or the company did. That's the sad truth. So, a warning I would say, any kind, like in America we have something called Social Security, but the financial part of Social Security is terrible. It does not look good, right? For my generation, I think Social Security will not be around, or it will be useless. And so I think one thing you can learn from this is don't trust company pensions. Don't trust the government when they promise you, oh, we'll take care of you when you get old. Bullshit. Maybe they will, and maybe they won't. You have no idea. Maybe you'll be lucky, you'll live in a good economic time, and you will get a good pension. But maybe they will promise you this, and then times will be tough when you get older, and you will have no pension at all. So, my best advice, something very practical from Animal Farm, don't trust government or company pensions. Save for your own retirement. You must plan for and save for your own retirement. You must take care of yourself. You must plan for yourself and, your family. Don't trust the government. Don't trust companies about this. Okay. Now the next thing is something I definitely want to talk about because this is a very important and, in fact, famous technique that Orwell describes. In fact, this technique that he describes in Animal Farm, he only describes it a little bit. But in 1984, it's one of the big techniques. It's one of the main techniques. And we have it's so famous from Orwell. Of course, he didn't create the technique. He's just describing it. The technique was created by, the Soviet Union, the communists, and other propagandists. But he described it so well, it's so famous in both his books, especially 1984, that we now have a phrase called Orwellian language. This is kind of an idiom or slang or an idiomatic phrase, we could say. Orwellian. We say, that's Orwellian. We use it as an adjective. Or it comes from his name, George Orwell, his last name, Orwell, the writer. So Orwellian language, that's an Orwellian phrase. That's an Orwellian technique. That's Orwellian language. What does that mean? Orwellian language is when people, especially government companies, use words or language that means the opposite of the truth. So they hide the truth by using the opposite of the truth, using words that mean the opposite of the true situation. So for example, squealer, and in general, these people, the people in power, the media, government, they never use the clear, direct, truthful words, right? They never do that because they want to hide the truth. So for example, in Animal Farm, they decreased the amount of food. So the direct, honest words, vocabulary, would be reduce or decrease, right? We are decreasing food, we're reducing food. That's what they're actually doing. That's the true meaning. So those would be the correct words to use. But Squealer never uses those words because he wants to hide the truth. He wants to confuse the animals so they don't see the truth. They don't understand the truth. So he always uses a different word, readjustment. Readjustment just means a change. To adjust something means to change it a little bit so that it's better. So it's completely the wrong word to use, right? It's a lie. So they're lying through vocabulary. And that's really where this phrase comes, Orwellian language. It's lying through vocabulary. Lying by changing the meaning of language. And it's very effective, which is why it is used. It is used constantly. This technique of Orwellian language. Some people also get politically correct language is another way to say it. It is used constantly now. It is used so much in big business. Corporations do this too. This is why business English can be difficult. It's not really, English for business really should be simple. It doesn't require a lot of difficult vocabulary. But most large companies especially will use all kinds of weird vocabulary and words instead of using the direct and most common words. They will use some long, big word, right? Like, for example, instead of saying secretary, I am a secretary, right? A secretary, a man or a woman who types and kind of helps the boss, helps a manager, helps somebody. Instead, they will say, I am an administrative assistant. I am an administrative assistant. It's this long title that sounds more important, but it's almost meaningless, right? Administrative assistant. Secretary would be the direct, simple, most common word to use, most meaningful and honest word. But instead, they will use these long, big titles to try to sound more important, hiding the truth, right? Secretary, it's not a bad job, but it's not it doesn't have a high status. But administrative assistant sounds much more important, even though it's not, even though it's exactly the same job. And you will see this in large companies everywhere. They use confusing language in everything. And this is why business English can be very difficult and super confusing. And even for me, because every company uses different language and it's so confusing, it's so indirect, not direct, it's so basically dishonest that it can be very, very difficult to understand. Even for native speakers. Another area Orwellian language is used is academia. Academia meaning within universities. College professors and researchers do this constantly. Again, people ask me, why is academic English so difficult? Why is it so difficult to understand a research study, a research article, an academic article? Why? It should not be difficult to understand. Most of those studies could be communicated with simple, direct, common, honest English. But they don't do that because their purpose is not communication. Their purpose is not clear communication. Their purpose is to hide their results. They're trying to make their results trying to make their study, trying to make their research, trying to make their article sound much, much, much bigger and more important than the truth. The truth is, most of those articles are small and not important at all, and really don't find anything useful at all. But no doctor, no professor wants to be honest about that because their job depends on sounding important. So instead they use big vocabulary. They use Orwellian language to hide the truth, to make their research and their studies and their ideas sound much bigger than the truth. Because really their ideas are quite simple, not that big. And where we see it the most is in government, because in government is used to control people. So Orwellian language is used to control people, as we see in Animal Farm, where they tell them the opposite of the truth. So we see this in the media, and the government is where it happens, where it's the worst, I would say, where it's not just trying to sound more important, but actually completely lying, completely telling you the opposite of the truth to control you. And that is what the pigs do, and they do it very well in this story. So, Orwellian language. And like I said, in 1984, he calls it news speak in 1984. That's the word George Orwell actually uses in his book, news speak, right? So it's the way that newscasters speak. So Orwell recognized that newscasters, like CNN, BBC, they're liars. They're just professional liars. That's their job. They're propaganda and liars. So he called it news speak, right? It's the kind of speaking that newscasters do. In other words, they tell you the opposite of the truth. They use vocabulary words that hide the truth. But, I don't know, for whatever reason, the phrase we actually use now, instead of saying news speak to describe this, what we usually say instead is Orwellian. So we use his own name. I don't know. Would George Orwell be happy about that? I wonder if he would be complimented because he did such a good job describing this technique, or maybe he'd be unhappy because it's a negative technique, it's a terrible thing, and maybe he would not want his name connected to this kind of technique of lying. I don't know. We don't know what George Orwell would have thought. But anyway, Orwellian language is how we actually say it now. We see a repeat of the technique of education. Again, another one of my, probably my most important issue for me personally as a teacher, is how education is used to control the minds of the young. The young completely change the society. And how do they do it? They control the minds of the young when they're very small, when they can't think, when they have no experience. And through the schools, they put all these beliefs and lies into them, so when they become adults, they're totally controlled, and they totally change the society. And so Napoleon did this already with the dogs. That's how he got power. Now he's doing it with all the young pigs. So he's making the next generation of rulers, right? The pigs are the rulers. So the technique, the school. This is why I support homeschooling so strongly. Homeschool your children if possible. And it's hugely possible. If you make an effort, if you're willing to make some changes in your life, you can find a way to homeschool your children. So please do it. Don't trust strangers from the government to teach your children and to train them. Don't trust them. Trust yourself. Trust yourself. Trust yourself. All right, a small thing, clearly, again, we're getting this status, right, of the pigs are getting higher and higher and higher. Right? At the beginning, the propaganda, the idea was all animals are equal, but again, it's this boiling the frogs, step by step, the pigs go higher, 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 and the dogs somewhat, but especially the pigs. and the other animals get lower, lower, lower. Less and less and less and less and less food for the other animals, more food for the pigs and the dogs. Then they have to, the pigs can wear ribbons. The pigs can break all of the original rules, right? All those original rules of the revolution are changed for the pigs, but not for everybody else, right? The pigs can drink alcohol, nobody else can get it. The pigs can wear a ribbon now. In this chapter, they can wear a little ribbon on their tail, a little green ribbon, like a special status symbol. None of the animals can wear any clothes or ribbons at all. The pigs are getting fatter. The other animals are starving and getting thinner and weaker. So on and on and on. It's just, this is again that boiling the frog. That means that gradual change so they don't notice it. And again, and that gradual change, this is a negative change. Boiling the frog always is about negative change. If we're talking about positive improvements, we'll use a different phrase. But for negative changes, especially like propaganda or lies or this kind of thing, we say boiling the frog, right? It's slowly increasing the temperature till the frog is killed. It's slowly making these changes so they don't notice, and then suddenly, eventually the changes are huge. Right? So first the pigs were just a little above the other animals, and then a little more, and then a little more. And now by this time, they are far, far, far apart. The pigs are way, 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 way above the other animals. And Napoleon is even higher. So the pigs all drinking, getting drunk, having fun, partying all the time at night. And then again, another technique, we see the Orwellian language of spontaneous demonstration. It's a planned meeting, but they call it spontaneous demonstration. So they use words that are the opposite in meaning of the truth. Again, to confuse and program the animals mentally. And just continuing more and more of the same techniques we've already seen in the past. Songs and speeches and awards and all that kind of stuff. It's just to distract. I was reminded, who was it? I'm sorry, I forgot who it was. Was it Carol, maybe? Anyway, I was reminded of the phrase bread and circuses. It seems this is a phrase used in maybe in other European languages, but in English we say bread and circuses, because I believe it's a quote, or at least people say it's a quote from Julius Caesar. And the idea, what Caesar, I don't know if he really said it or not, but what he supposedly said was the way to control the masses, most people, was with bread and circuses. So bread is obvious, food, right? Give them a little food, keep them happy. But the other one, circuses, that doesn't make sense. What does he mean? Well, circuses had a different meaning in ancient Rome at Caesar's time. Right now we think of a circus, right, with animals or guys juggling, but that's not what a circus was in Rome. A circus in the time of the Roman Empire was a race. It was those chariot races, right, when they would race around, and they were kind of violent, right? Many times the racers would be killed in these big races. So it was like a big event. It was like a sporting event. And all the Roman common people would go, and they would go to this huge stadium in Rome and watch these chariot races. So what was Caesar saying? He was saying food and distraction. Distract them with big events. And of course this technique is used now, right? Sports are still huge. Yes, it was Carol. Thank you. Right? So professional sports. In America, we have football, basketball, and baseball are the big ones. And some people are they focus their whole life on their sports team. And they care about their sports team, and they will get super upset if something bad happens with the sports team. And they learn about all the players, and they put a lot of energy and focus and study on their favorite sports team. But they ignore politics. They ignore what's happening in Washington, D.C., for example. So they're distracted, right? They're distracted by the sports, and that keeps them happy. It means they will not challenge the powerful people. Movies, media, we have lots of distractions now, right? So this is not a new technique. It goes all the way back at least to Julius Caesar, okay? So it's over 2,000 years old, right? The kind of distraction is different. Now we have, sports and media and modern technology. And at that time in Rome, they had gladiators, right? The gladiators would kill each other and fight each other, and they had the races with the chariots. But the idea is the same. Distract the common people. Keep them focused on this stuff that doesn't really matter, so they will not notice what the powerful people are doing. Bread and circuses is the phrase. Now, Napoleon's not using bread because they're all starving, but Napoleon is using circuses, right? They do parades and songs and all this stuff. They're just distractions for the animals. Okay, and more Orwellian language happens next. They say, Animal Farm is a republic. Republic is like it's not exactly a democracy. I'm not going to explain all the differences, but most modern, most countries that say they are democracies are not actually democracies. They're actually republics, right? You elect a representative, right? So America is a republic. America is not a democracy. The United States government is not and never was a democracy. It has always been a republic. So again, they say it's Orwellian language, right? It's not a republic. This is the exact opposite. It's a dictatorship. But they say it's a republic and they have a fake election, but only Napoleon is the only choice, and of course he wins. Just hiding the truth again. I already talked about the next thing, Snowball. The complete lies of Snowball. Snowball has gone from the great hero now to the total enemy. And it was just that boiling the frog, the very gradual process. Little lies, and then a little more, and then a little more, and then a little more, until finally the total, complete lie. He was our enemy, working with the humans, fighting with the humans. He fought against us in the battle. All of it completely untrue, but they didn't tell the complete untruth. If they told the total lie in the beginning, the animals their memory was too recent. They would not have believed the total big lie. But since they just told a little lie in the beginning, they kind of, okay, maybe. And then when they believe the first little lie, later they tell a second little lie, and then another little lie, another one. And then gradually over this long time, they get to the big lie. So this boiling the frog technique is also very, very common in the media now. Moses, the raven, represents the idea of religion being used to control people. So there's religion that leads to God. But then there's also kind of organized types of religion which lead to social control. That's what Orwell is criticizing. And remember, Orwell was in fact left wing. He really was. He was a socialist. Now he criticized communism, but Orwell was not right wing in any way. And so this is Orwell's criticism of religion. That's what the raven is. Moses. Okay, and finally we get to the big event of chapter 9, and that is Boxer's death. And, it's horrible, right? It's truly horrible, because through all of this story until now, Boxer has been the great hero. Boxer represents the best, right? The best of humanity is really what Boxer represents. Right? I mean, he's an animal in the story, but he represents the best. He has a great heart. He truly cares. More than any of the other animals on the farm, he cares more about everyone else. He's the least selfish, right? He works the hardest for others. He tries the hardest for others. Unfortunately, he is also the biggest believer in the revolution. He is also the biggest believer of the lies. and this costs him his life. Because this is Orwell's criticism. How are the true heroes of the revolution rewarded? We see the answer in this chapter. How do they, what's the result for the true heroes? The ones that really, really care. Well, Snowball was attacked by the dogs and they forced him out, and then they lied about him and they made him into the great enemy. But Snowball, he was kind of a hero, but he also was a pig, so he also did a lot of lying himself. So maybe we don't feel too bad for Snowball, because probably if Snowball had won, he would do the same, right? Snowball was a lot like Napoleon in some ways. But Boxer, this is really the tragic one, because Boxer is in no way like the pigs. Boxer, not selfish. Boxer doesn't care about himself at all compared to everyone else. His heart is pure, completely pure. It always has been. And how does the revolution end for Boxer? He is murdered. They kill him. They kill him for money. They kill him, number one, they don't want to pay for his retirement. Right? They don't want to deal with him. He's old and he's becoming useless, right? The pigs loved him when he was useful, when he was working. They could make him work, and he was the most powerful worker. They liked him then. But now he's become old. He's going to retire very soon. And then they have to just give him food and he doesn't work. The pigs don't want that. The pigs don't want to share all their extra food. So this accident is really lucky for the pigs. And what do? Do they take care of him when he gets injured, when he gets hurt? Nope. They sell him to make glue, and then they take the money and they have a big party. They buy whiskey and they have a big party. They don't care about him at all. This is the message. This is probably the real message, the deepest message that Orwell's trying to show us. They don't really care about you at all. You are nothing to them. Good people are nothing to them, and they will kill them or throw them away anytime they don't need them. Anytime they seem like they are a threat, right? They're dangerous to the powerful, or anytime they're no longer useful. Orwell is saying your life means nothing to them. Don't believe the lies. If you believe the lies, you will become like Boxer in the end. If you believe all these lies, if you join in this kind of revolution, if you support it, your life will end badly, probably. And again, I say right now, Venezuela is absolutely the best lesson here. Who is suffering in Venezuela? Not the big communist at the top. No, not them. I think, what's his name, Maduro? I'm sure Maduro is eating very well. He's doing very well. He lives in a big palace, right? A huge place. He gets all the best food that he needs and wants. He's surrounded by guards with guns, the dogs. He controls the military, the dogs. He controls the police, the dogs. And him and all his assistants, the pigs, are living very, very, very well in Venezuela. Who is suffering? Who is trying to get out of the country desperately? Who's starving now? It's the decent, common people who supported the revolution, who waved all the red flags. Yay! The true believers are suffering the most. The guys at the top, they never believed it. They never believed those lies. They're good at lying, but they never believed it. They never cared about the common people. They never cared about the poor people. And they never will. This is his message. He's saying, now, of course, Orwell, when Orwell was alive, he was looking at the Soviet Union. And what he's saying is that the Communist Party didn't care about the common Soviets, the common people. Stalin didn't care at all about the common people, the factory workers, the farmers. He didn't care. And in fact, he starved and killed and murdered millions of them if he thought they were a threat or if they were not useful. That's the big message. This is the huge warning. You know, we've seen all these warnings from Orwell, and now in chapter 9 we really get it. It's really, really bad. Right? He's saying it's the good who suffer the most when evil gets power. It's the good that suffer the most when people believe lies. The good-hearted will suffer the most. That's what he's saying. This is a warning to good people. This whole book is a warning to good people. Beware is what Orwell is saying. Beware. Don't trust them. Don't trust the lies. He's showing us in this whole book the techniques. He's saying, look at these techniques. Don't believe them. When you see people using these techniques, be careful. Wake up is what he's trying to shout, especially with Boxer's death. But, of course, it's also very sad because, except Benjamin, all the other animals still believe the lie at the end, even though it is obvious that they murdered Boxer. They just tell a little lie. An obvious lie, a ridiculous, crazy lie. And yet, they're so brainwashed, they're so foolish, they're so fearful that they just accept the lie. They immediately accept the lie. They don't even ask any questions. They just say, oh, okay, right? They have become so trained by the lies and propaganda, they don't even question anymore. Now, chapter 9 doesn't say, I'm guessing probably Benjamin knows the truth. But of course, Benjamin is afraid to challenge them alone because he knows if he challenges the pigs that they will probably send him in a van and kill him too. Or maybe the dogs will just kill him. So Benjamin's not going to challenge them alone, but Benjamin knows the truth. But the other animals, they know the truth, but they accept the lie. And this is another one of the big messages of Animal Farm. Because it's a question we've gotten on Facebook. It's a question we've discussed last week and previous weeks. Why do they believe the lie so easily? And I think what Orwell is saying is people don't want to accept difficult truths. If you give people a choice, a pretty lie, a beautiful lie, a lie that sounds good, or an ugly truth, right? A reality, a truth that's not good, that's unpleasant. Most people will choose the pretty lie instead. Most people will choose this. And, how can we argue with Orwell? He's right. Look at history. Look around the world. He's right. Most people prefer the lies because they sound good, because the lies make them feel good, and the truth makes them feel uncomfortable. The truth makes them feel afraid. The truth makes them feel unhappy. So better to believe the lie that feels good. This is another big message from Orwell in Animal Farm. He's showing us. First of all, he's showing us what happens when you believe the lies, what can happen in the end. And he also shows us why. Because there's another quote. That's the next thing, right? We all ask, why? Why do these techniques work? I mean, they're obvious. Many of them. The lies are obvious. Why? Why does this work again and again and again? We saw what happened in the Soviet Union. We see what's happening in Venezuela now. And yet, they just use the same exact lies again in another country, and people believe it again. It just keeps repeating again and again and again and again. Well, this is why. Because the lies sound good. The lies make people feel good, and the truth is difficult and ugly and scary. That's why. That's unfortunately human psychology for most people. So it's an excellent warning from Orwell. Sadly, it's a warning that very few people listen to. But the purpose of this book club and doing this book is I hope you at least will understand these messages, understand these techniques, understand Orwell's warnings, and follow them. I hope you will see the ugly truths and choose to see them and believe them, and don't believe all the pretty lies. All right, that is the end of our show this week. Next week, we finish the book. We finish it, Animal Farm, next week, Chapter 10. Hope you enjoyed Chapter 9. As always, join my VIP program. Go to effortlessenglishclub.com. That's effortlessenglishclub.com. Lots of love to you. See you next week.